15 states and a territory head to the polls to vote in nominating contests for both parties, Republicans and the Democrats. On the Republican side, if you need a reminder, former President Donald Trump is squaring off against Nikki Haley with more than a third of the total delegates on the line today. Caitlin Huey Burns is in one of the states holding a primary today because it'd be hard to be in all 15 at once. Caitlin, good morning.
Good morning to you, Tony. It's always a good morning when voters are voting. And Donald Trump actually...
No, it's not. It's like not objectively not a good morning when voters are voting. What the fuck? It's always a good morning when voters are voting. That's a silly thing you just said. You're silly, Caitlin Huey Burns. You're silly Billy. Dude, I'm telling you, this is the most mid-election cycle in my professional career. I've been doing this for 10 years. I'm straight up telling you right now, I have never encountered in all of my many years of being interested in politics, okay? This is straight up the most mid one. It has gotten progressively worse, okay? This feels like worse than the midterms. The midterms had more enthusiasm than this. Think about that. That never happens. We're in the general election. What the hell's going on? The last midterm cycle had more interest, in my opinion, for Americans than this election cycle. And there's a good reason for it. It's because everyone low-key recognizes that your voice does not matter. I'm not even kidding. I have this suspicion, especially amongst our generation. If you're like under the age of 35, if you're 35 and below, you saw COVID, you saw the BLM protests, you saw nothing happen as a consequence to that. You had this like feeling that maybe you could vote Trump out of office and then things would get better. Things did not get better. And now it feels like you're like, okay, what am I doing? Like, what am I doing? I hate Trump. I don't like Biden. What the hell's going on? I'm not interested. We did this already. We did this in 2020. I did this already. I did my duty. I went out. I voted. I door knocked. And then none of the promises came through. You know what I mean? What the hell's going on? It could get really funny really fast, though. Yes, it can. If either of the candidates die, then it will be very interesting and very, people will be locked in at that point. Because, like, who comes in afterwards, right? Like, there are a lot of curveballs in this one. It's the least interesting election and can literally turn into the most interesting election of our lifetime, a matter of moments. It could straight up, I'm not even kidding, this is the first time we got a situation where a light breeze could change the outcome, could change the trajectory of American history. Okay, a light breeze, that's never happened before. Stairs, think about that. You already know the character lore, there's no new story, right? He's got to spice it up with some DLC. Dems definitely have a contingency plan. Dude, I'm not even kidding. I think the Democratic Party is significantly less competent than you give them credit. It's impossible once you recognize how dumb every politician and every single one of their stupid ass analysts are. You will free yourself of the consistent confusion that you find yourself in. The Dem contingency is Kamala Harris with hopes she doesn't have any skeletons in her closet that will be too consequential, which is ironic because she is such a non-entity because they backpocketed her the entire 3 years. What is this? I'm part of the White House press pool today, and I can confirm we did not need the test this morning. First time since the beginning of the pandemic. Wait, what? White House is lifting its COVID-19 testing rule for people around Biden? They're trying to kill him. Oh my God. Ladies and gentlemen, the Democratic Party has now activated their contingency plan. I was wrong. They're putting Biden in contact with people who are COVID positive to see what happens. All right, let's get back to Super Tuesday.
Actually added to that delegate count you mentioned last night with a victory in the North Dakota caucuses. But now all attention turns to Super Tuesday, which the results could signal the end of Nikki Haley's campaign.
Hello, Texas!
I'm sick of the both sides of the same horseshit, to be honest. Mind Drive, you are always the guy who does this every election cycle, every single election cycle that you have been here for, and you've been here for 46 months. You are a lifelong Democrat. I don't know why you act like this is like a new thing you arrived at every single fucking time. Like, come on now. Oh, I'm so sick of the both sides of the same horseshit, to be honest. Biden fucking sucks on Gaza, but he's a hell of a lot better on a bunch of other issues. First of all, he's not. He's not a hell of a lot better on other issues. He's not. On issues that are in your face, like issues that drive the conversation, issues that create single issue voters, like immigration. Brandon took the previous 12 to 18-year cycle that it took for Democrats to arrive at the Republican position and greatly accelerated to a 4 to 3 year period. Back in the day, it would take at least like 14 years for the Democratic Party to be like, that's our position now, to a prior Republican Party position. Nowadays, it's 3. Brandon ran against Trump's immigration policies, and now Brandon is running towards Trump's immigration policies and saying he's the guy to do it. It is unimaginably stupid. Both sides, dear God, when will this end? Fucking smoke, dude. I know my chatters, baby. Mind Drive and his inability to recognize the truth that the Democratic Party constantly uses best intentions against him to consistently move further and further right every election cycle, causing him to basically advocate for the Republican Party positions that he voted against last election cycle is hilarious. Say to people who don't want to vote for Biden, therefore won't vote, they are the plurality in this country. So I got nothing to say to them, because guess what, dude? Due to the Electoral College and also due to the incompetence of the Democratic Party, there are a lot of people who would go out and vote that are just, not doing it. Also, other hurdles as well. Structural hurdles in logistics, the fact that voting is not done on a weekend or a national holiday. So yeah, I'm just not going to sit here and feed into the delusion that you're like the harm reduction argument becomes increasingly smaller and smaller within the margins year over year, especially as the Democratic Party is the one who's doing the harm, where they are very willingly saying, no, it's harm reduction, except like we're doing the harm. Actually, never mind. It's not even harm reduction at all. Vote for us so we can do the harm. It's just, it's bullshit. So I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not gonna sit here and be like, yeah, no, vote for the Democratic Party. It's gonna save everything. It's gonna save everyone's lives, especially when the Democrats are capitulating on every issue. Sometimes literally turning around and taking the right-wing position. Anyway, I often don't like talking about electoralism of this sort because it is very, very depressing, because everyone wants to feel like their vote matters and everyone wants to feel like they're making a change, and voting is making the change, right? It's the most important thing you can do, because it's not supposed to be that hard. You just take some time out and you do it, and the consequences are going to be dire. Let's continue on the what's at stake for Super Tuesday 2024.
Nikki Haley finished a multi-state tour in Texas with a campaign rally that could be her last.
At some point, maybe we should say the reason that America keeps losing is because of Donald Trump.
But in one point of agreement with her Republican rival,
I want him on that ballot.
Haley supported a unanimous Supreme Court ruling Monday that Colorado cannot remove former President Donald Trump.
If they lose, Dems won't realize they need to push more progressive policy. If they lose, they will think they need to shift more fascist policy to win the moderates. Yeah, no, they're at a certain point you have to realize like the internal structure of the Democratic Party is just so busted, so flawed. They are not listening to you, and they will not listen to you until you have enough organizational power, until you have unions, until you have labor power, until you have other organizations like the DSA and the like that are genuinely trying to push for progress and have enough of a sizable audience that they have to reckon with, that you can use the normal protocols of communication that other interest groups utilize, oftentimes with a shit ton of wealth backing them, of course. The Democratic Party is never, ever, ever going to turn around and be like, yeah, maybe we should listen to these dudes. It's not going to happen. We do this every election, and the answer is still the same. Democrats win, and they think they can win without the left and continue to move right. Democrats lose and still continue to move the right because they lost. Exactly. Nah, they know you'll vote for them when the time comes to it. Yeah, this is from the New Yorker magazine. Back in the Oval Office, where winter sun shone through glass doors, I asked Biden if it was possible for him to reach voters who had those beliefs. He treated the question as a provocation. Well, first of all, remember in 2020, you guys told me how I wasn't going to win, and then he told me in 2022 how it was going to be a red wave. He flashed a tense smile, and I told you there wasn't going to be any red wave. And in 2023, you told me we're going to get our ass kicked again, and we won every contested race out there. He let that sink in for an instant and said, in 2024, I think you're going to see the same thing. One race where you barely won and 2 cycles where you weren't on the ballot doesn't allow you to dismiss every single possible critique. This awful, insecure desire to feel like they are backed by some silent majority is blinding them from the most basic political realities. If you're there and you feel like you want to vote for the Democratic Party, if you want to do harm reduction, if you believe that this is truly going to work, go off kings and queens. Just don't think that this is like a legitimate act of protest or anything in either direction. It doesn't fucking matter. It does not matter. It doesn't matter. Just straight up doesn't matter. We have a uniparty structure, and ultimately it's a matter of like, do you want the bad stuff 4 years later, or do you want the bad stuff now? That's it. That's what harm reduction has turned into. It's not like, let's roll back the bad stuff and maybe do a little bit of good stuff. It's literally, do you want it now? Do you want to get fucked right now, or do you want to get fucked 4 years down the line? It's gonna happen.
Trump's legal battles have become a rallying cry for his campaign and have helped to fuel support among Republicans.
I feel like that all the states that are going after him are, it's all political. It makes me feel stronger to back him.
And even with tonight's big delegate haul, Donald Trump won't yet secure the number of delegates needed to officially secure the Republican nomination. His campaign estimates that could come as early as next week. And as for Nikki Haley, she has no events on the schedule today.
This fuckhead is asking to be a dictator and people are just laughing it off. Come on, what happened to us, Lamau? I feel like there are two different types of voters out there. One who believes that like you legitimately are going to save the country by just voting. And then others who just don't give a shit either way, even if there's no theoretical backing, even if it's not because they're like rugged, diehard Marxist, Leninist, anti-electoralists. They just look at the situation and they're like, bro, my take home pay has not increased, right? It sucks. Shit sucks. It doesn't matter. I voted last time. Biden became president. Trump was like goofy as hell and kind of weird. I'm talking about the average person, right? Shit didn't change. Maybe I'll go out and vote this time around. I don't really care. I don't really care what the fuck goes on. It's apathy. A lot of people have developed apathy in this country as a consequence of the deliberate efforts neoliberal parties, both on the Republican side and the Democratic side, for the record, starving the beast and making sure that the government is ineffective, ensuring that, nothing really changes for you in a dramatic way, and your life is never improved by the government. So when that happens, you're like, well, why the fuck do I vote anyway? Especially in a structure where we have an electoral college, so the popular vote doesn't really matter all that much. That's the reason why the plurality doesn't vote. So unless you change it, or unless you literally run on a campaign that gets people excited to go out and vote for you, and that's a very high hurdle. That is a very tall bar to fucking clear. I get that. All you're doing is depressing voter turnout. Anybody who wants change knows that voting hasn't solved that problem for multiple cycles now. Exactly.